For today's episode, I would like to welcome Smita Chakraburtty. She's the founder of an organization called PAAR, Prison Aid and Action Research. Welcome, Smita. Welcome to Inclusion by Design. And I'm looking forward to having a in-depth conversation, an intense conversation on how do we make inclusion a matter of program policies and designs. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And, there's something unique that you're doing. Because I need to appreciate this and really wholeheartedly want to support this initiative.
So, Smita, why don't you first introduce your work and the group that you work with?
I work with prisoners and we actually advocate for the concept of open prisons. We promote the concept of open prisons, and we mostly work with convicted prisoners who have been sentenced, mostly life sentence prisoners. It's a very difficult area to work with because there is a lot of stigma and taboo involved in working with a convicted prisoner, because the politics of prison reforms is that it's easy to talk about under-trial prisoners because one is yet to be, you don't know whether the person has perpetrated a crime or not. But when it comes to convicted prisoners, certainly, at least according to the court of law, they have perpetrated an offense. And we work with prisoners who have a life sentence. So they are no motorcycle thieves we are working with. So it's difficult to even start a conversation on this topic. I've been working for the last 18 years with prisoners, and PAAR happened very organically as a part of implementing a Supreme Court order on open prisons. And thereafter, now also, it was a very lonely journey before, and now we have a team. There are researchers, and we work like very, very positively, and somehow we brought a positive angle
to a very challenging
thing. And also, it's very important to understand over here that open prison is a concept which has evolved organically in the country. So it's a system which has been there in this country for a very long time. So it's something that did not happen overnight. It has organically evolved. So in 1953, there was this agricultural farm which was set up. Prisoners were taken from the closed prison.
Where was this?
This was in Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, there's this place called Durdapura, which is somewhere in Jaipur. And Durdapura started as an agricultural farmland where there were nobody to work. So the prison department took the convicted prisoners to work in the farmland. And at that time, it was seen as bonded labor, right? Because they're getting the prisoners to work free of cost. Now, incidentally, what happened was, when it was a farmland and people, but prisoners, if it's whether you're working in a farmland or whether you're not getting paid for your work, the prisoners were not speaking about this at all. The very fact that they were no more in a cage, is breaking out of the cage, going in the open itself meant a lot. So, because it was liberty, whether it came at a cost, didn't matter at that time. So what happened was, the prisoners didn't say anything. At one point, people in the locality started objecting to it, saying that you're keeping murder convicts, male, in our society. So we feel threatened by it. So then the concept changed. So the prisoners proposed that we are staying over here, we are also family people. We have men, we have wife, children, mother, brother, we have families. And some of them might agree to come and stay with us. The prisoners were again working in the farm. At this time, they had their family members staying with them. So that later, the prisoners, there was a problem that prison department can't. Even now, this is 2025. Even now, prison departments are understaffed. So they couldn't afford sending lots of guards, prison guards, who stay with the prisoners in the office. So the prisoners proposed that we will have our own monitoring system, we'll have a Bandi Panchayat. So it can evolve organically because it was founded by a group of Gandhians. This concept was founded by a group of Gandhians who were themselves freedom fighters and who have spent time in prison themselves as political prisoners, and they've seen the colonial system inside the prison. So they thought that in independent India, we can't have the same system. So say in 1953, when convicted prisoners were kept under bar fetters, and they used to be chained in the night. That was the practice, common practice in India across the world. That if you're a convicted prisoner, you're a murder convict, then your hands will be under chains and your legs will be under chains and stay in chains. So, I've seen old movies, they're in shackles, right? So that was the norm. At that point, somebody thought that this person can stay in the open and do some agricultural work for the prison. It was something very radical. There was no law to it. But the person was the governor of Rajasthan, so nobody said no to him. So they initiated the work. And then this happened, and then Sanganer open prison happened. Sanganer was the first time when prisoners were staying over there at a scale. So there were like 100, 150 prisoners. They built their own homes over there. They brought in their families to stay with them because prison department can't give them quarters. They didn't have the budget. They didn't have staff. So prisoners, they organically started working. Then after some time, the prison department couldn't generate jobs for these people, work. So they said, we'll stay over here. We'll go out, we'll work, and we'll come back in the evening. Our family will also stay over here.
And these were all convicted prisoners?
Yes, murder convicts. So they have, this is how the system evolved. And then in 1973, the laws were faked. The Model Open Prison Rules of Rajasthan, which was the first codified law on open prison in the country, happened in 1973-74. The Open Prison Rules. And thereafter, the system has been there. It has been an invisible system. There is no mention of open prison in a lot of committees that were formed by the government or by the Supreme Court because people didn't know about it. Now the point is, incidentally, I was studying prison from my college from 2004 2005. I've been working on prison. I've been working on custodial violence, and I was invited, and so I was the only person who could visit prison. First, when I was studying in college, I thought my I-card came with a certain privilege, the college identity card. And we are from Calcutta, so Calcutta Presidency College meant a lot. So they were like quite little brats. Like say, if I got off on a bus and I didn't have money to pay the fare, sometimes I would say, I'm from Presidency, Sonia. So this kind of thing. So in college, you think your faculty is the most powerful, influential people in the world, and this campus is the universe, right? So I thought that I'll work on custodial violence, and I thought I'll just go and then I'll get permission to visit a prison. I didn't even know I needed permission to enter a prison. So when I went over there,
you went to Rajasthan for this?
I was in Presidency Central Jail. Yeah.
So
I went to Presidency Central Jail, and the superintendent told me, but he didn't meet me. I had to beg him to meet me. I had spent weeks trying to do that. Then he told me that this is not possible. You have to seek permission. Hey, you need to have a judicial permission to visit prison. So, in this course, I was asking my HOD to write me a letter of reference. I went to the principal to get me a letter of reference. I was doing all these things because to me, the principal of my college is the most influential person I know, right? So this didn't matter.
So you're giving this example to tell me that you had no clue that to get into, to work with prisoners is not such a lovely, beautiful heart you have that you want to work with prisoners. It came with a lot of rules and permissions and approvals.
But so initially I was just, it's like, say a 21-year-old just trying to look for some work, and everybody was working on child, everybody was working on, street dwellers in the university. And then People were working, their dissertation papers came from, say, newspaper cuttings. So I was thinking, I'll do also
Something different.
Something different, very important. And since I'd spent months not getting permission, and probably that I thought that I'll not be able to pass and I can't submit my dissertation. There's no field visit, nothing has happened. So at that point, the superintendent told me, you need to get judicial permission. Incidentally, there was the Calcutta High Court judge, so I met him, requested him, and he instantly gave me punch. He wrote a letter, wrote a personal letter, and wrote it. And he said that since you're going over there, if you get any letters from the prisoner, you should submit it to me. Ask about that. I asked about custodial violence. Prisoners would not initially speak about it at all because they are in custody. They can't complain about their custodians because I will go do my
Research and come out.
And otherwise it will be like a 20-mark paper. The stakes are very high. So they didn't say anything. But when I asked them about, their food, so this basically happened. So I went for the first couple of days. Nobody spoke to me. Then I told them that they were saying, like, why do you have to come over here? Kya karenge yahan pe aapne? So I told them that, listen, I need to understand this custodial violence, and there is like Supreme Court judgments on custodial violence, and it's something very important. At that point, the anti-torture bill was coming up in the country. So it was an important topic that needed to be covered. And since this is in the year, say 2004-5 anti-torture bill, but then it never happened. We still don't have a law against torture. Anyway, so there was this discussion happening 2004-5. In fact, the anti-torture bill was discussed before that also. So anyway, so I thought that was an important topic. So when I told the prisoners that I got permission from the court to come and speak to them, so then by word of mouth, they thought somebody very important has come, somebody from the High Court has come, right? So suddenly there used to be, every day I visited the prison, there used to be at least 10-15 people waiting for me with a letter in their hand, and they would open up to me about their personal life.
So the letters were written to?
Letters were written to me to give to the High Court. And about the basic things. So one day there's this very old man, he's 85-year-old man. He comes up to me and he gives me a letter about specs. He was wearing specs which were very, very small, like maybe it's a spectacle of a child. And he had put it on a rubber band. This 85-year-old man, he walks up to me and he didn't have anybody to write that letter for him. And he's saying, "Ke mujhe chashma chahiye." So I was like, "Kya मांग रहा है? High Court से चश्मा मांग रहा है?" So he said, "No, nobody's writing my letter. Please help me out." So I was okay, I'll write your letter. So I asked the jailer to write the letter, and the jailer is saying, ask him to get specs from his home. What is this saying this? Because you're coming over here, everybody's coming to us also. They are saying me as a burden, like additional work. So when I told him, "ये क्या कर रहे हैं? तो आप घर से मांग लीजिए." Then he said for 11 years, he had no visitor. Nobody had come to meet him for 11 years. He was completely abandoned by his family. And at that point, it something shook inside me. And suddenly I had grown up in that moment, And then, so I visited the prison for around 20-25 days. I came back. Then the superintendent, with whom I'm still in touch with, the man, he called me up and he says that, "Aapne kya Rajkumar? I want to come back again." Then I was like, my work is over, sir. Then he said, "But everybody comes and keeps on asking after it." So I developed a very good relationship with the superintendent, and say during festivals, during holidays, I would go to the prison at least once and visit them, meet the prisoners. It felt like such a strong bond that happened. Then in the court, so at the age of 20, 21, there's so much of demand of like, and something is happening. If there's somebody's writing that I don't have a lawyer or I haven't been taken to the court, these things were met because the prisoner who is absolutely voiceless in this system, a man who lives in a cage. No? So this person in a cage, see, in today's world, we don't even let animals stay in a cage. But in our society, we have normalized caging human beings, right? Because it is there. We have been brought up seeing a prison. So this person is being heard by, say, the Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court. And the justice is taking steps, right? And for me, a 21-year-old, I'm doing something so important. It felt more important than my dissertation paper or my term exams or anything, you know. So something changed at that point, and then thereafter I've always worked on prison. In my master's also, prison was my topic. When I was doing my PhD, which I didn't complete, at that time also prison was my topic. So because that was my excuse, academic research was an excuse to continuously visit prison. And then the judge, then he went off to the Supreme Court. When he came back, he came as the Human Rights Commission chairman. That time I was teaching at Loreto. I was just joining my PhD. I was teaching at Loreto. So that time, if there was any custodial death in custody, I would be sent by the Human Rights Commission as a part of the judicial investigation that happened. Then my students who were there at Loreto, the sister didn't give us permission to take the students to prison.
Yeah.
And they all wanted to work with me. So what I did was, the judge said, get their parents to write, and nobody has to write because they are all adults. You are teaching in a college. So the students gave their self-attested letters that we want to work with the Human Rights Commission. So I am, say, what, around that time I'm like 25, 26. My students are 20, 21-year-old. So we are all working with the Human Rights Commission, attending sessions, inside the commission, drafting, taking notes, and also Human Rights Commission at like was 50 interns. So my students still tell me that, we also felt so important doing that work. That's how my reputation also grew in certain circles. We all operate in circles, right? So I had a very strange kind of a circle, like the convicted prisoners, prison staff, senior judges, retired judges who supported the work. So there was a conference in Calcutta, State Human Rights Commission conference, where the Chief Justice of Bihar was invited. Justice V.N. Sinha. So Justice Sinha, he came and he was talking about, we've done this in prison, we've done that in prison. He was talking about a lot of things, and I, with all my, I was very pampered at that point. So I stood up and I told him, what you're saying is not true. It can be implemented on paper, but in practice, I'm sure that there's a lot of gaps, and people don't even know the names of their lawyers. So this is basic. So Justice Sinha, obviously you don't speak up, refute a judge, sitting Chief Justice of a court. I didn't know that point. So then I was introduced by the Human Rights Commission, saying that I've been there for the last 5-6 years. There's a history that I already had a history by then, because graduation 3 years, masters 2 years, PhD 1 year. So continuously working in the prison sector. So that SSM said, "Okay, you come to Bihar, visit us, and give us a report on our visa conditions." I was very happy. So my summer vacations were there. So I took permission and I went off to Loreto. I didn't have leave, so I had to seek permission from sister. So I got a leave for 1 week. I went to Bihar and I visited one prison, Beur Central Jail, and I wrote a very detailed report, like a 200-page report. So my mandate was I have to visit every barrack, meet every prisoner, and write. So in that 10 days or a week that I was there, it was not possible because Beirut had nearly 3,000 prisoners. So I said, I'll meet the convicted prisoners first. Because number of convicted prisoners are much lesser than number of under trial prisoners. Yeah. And then under trial prisoners only, there was the motorcycle chori cases also. So I thought maybe I start with the convicted prisoners first. So I took the convicted prisoner cases, and so I was looking, since the court had sent me over there, was officially sent by the Chief Justice as an observer of the High Court. So there I I was asking whether somebody has filed and appealed or not. Do you have an appeal lawyer? Did you come to the High Court? When is there are lots of legal procedures which don't get followed. So I started doing, so it was very detailed, and the prisoners are fantastic people when it comes to what is their problem in the court of law. So first they were not understanding what I came to ask, because law is very law. People in every country, law is like this sanctum sanctorum, the language and everything. Prisoners don't understand that. A lot of prisoners don't even know what is their case section, what are they, what is their punishment. So आप around basic things like, do you know your lawyer? He said, हाँ. Sir, नाम बताओ. Then he'll get confused. He doesn't know the name of his lawyer. So if he doesn't know the name of his lawyer, that means he doesn't have a lawyer. And I'll ask him, when was the last time you went to court? Did you meet your lawyer over there? So there was ways of finding out. Then prisoners were so interested in it. Then I got prisoners only to do the survey for me. So there were like 3-4 prisoners who were educated. So I told them, so this is a questionnaire, you sit and write it. So within 4-5 days, I completed inspecting BU prison. Like when I was physically walking around the prison and seeing that there is drinking water or not, what is the condition of food, sewage, toilet, everything I was checking. And these prisoners were doing the survey for me on lawyers, hacking and all that. And these are genuine cases. So when I went back, Justice Sinha was very impressed with that report, and he said, okay, why did you only do convicted prisoners? Is it to go back and speak to the under trial prisoners as well? I said, sir, there are thousands, like nearly 2,500 people. In 4-5 days, that is not possible. So he said, then write off him. What is your problem? I have to
work. Job.
I have to work. So then he said, so I am asking you, I'm giving you an order, the judicial order he passed, that I will have to inspect all the prisons of the state of Bihar. And this is a mandate that I'll have to visit. If there were 58 prisons in Bihar, I had to visit all the 58. The order said that I had to visit all the 58 prisons, and the court will facilitate that. So I'll go as a High Court observer. So from a PhD researcher who is teaching as a guest faculty at Loreto, suddenly I'm in this High Court observer. I have this. So I was so excited. I came back to Calcutta thinking that I'll get this leave, right? And it'll take me, 1 year, 2 years to do this work. So I'll take a sabbatical. Obviously, that didn't work out. Sister was not willing to give me that leave, so I quit my job and I went back. That seemed the most important thing to be done at that moment. And I went off to Bihar, and then that was the first time in Indian judicial history where a Chief Justice was appointing a non-official High Court observer to visit prison.
Give a solid report on it.
Yes. So, and Justice Sinha was fantastic. At that time, if I came across custodial torture cases, there was a matter in which the prisoner came after me and she complained about sexual violence inside prison, which was perpetrated on her. It was one of the most horrific cases I've ever come across. That she was this woman prisoner there was this prison officer who sexually abused her. And when she protested, the next day she went and told everybody, and she said, if I go to the court, I'll tell this to my family members. So to shut her down, she was brought out. This is in Sheikhpura prison. Sheikhpura is a very small place in Bihar. She was taken out from Sheikhpura. She was taken out from her barrack. So it's a very small prison, around 400 prisoners. And the women prisoners, 4 or 5 women prisoners were there. So she was taken out from the women's barrack in front of the male barrack. Around more than 400, 500 male prisoners over there. She was stripped naked and beaten senseless to teach a lesson. Thereafter, all the prisoners went on hunger strike. They didn't eat till the CJM came. That was the demand of the prisoners. And when I entered Sheikhpura, this woman, she's telling me that, this has happened. And I couldn't imagine that something of this sort can happen. When I came back, there were very senior government officials sitting in my circuit house saying that you can't file this report. But I was, the moment I came out of prison, inside prison I did all the documentation, because I didn't know whether I'm going to come back over there the second time or not. And I did that. And the moment I came out of the prison gate, I called up Justice Sinha and I told him, sir, this is something I've witnessed. Then he said, बस हमको बता दिया तो हो गया. If anybody tells you anything, you say, speak to Justice, go to the court. So when I came back to the circuit house, like 11 o'clock in the night, there are these two senior officials sitting over there saying, ये आप सबमिट नहीं कर सकते हैं, वो झूठ बोल रहा है. Then I said, पर सर हमने तो सबमिट कर दिया. What to do? And I was texting Justice Sinha from my phone. That's how it's 11:30 in the night. These guys are in my, you can't do that. I'm an official guest. So anyway, so Justice Sinha called me up. He said, I'm sending, take your car, come back to Patna immediately. We will look into this. Aap report submit kar do. I said, okay. So in the night itself, I left the circuit house. I didn't feel safe in the circuit house at all. But Justice V.N. Sinha was so strong at that point. I mean, you need to have people like that in the system. As the acting Chief Justice of Patna High Court, next Saturday itself, so around 2-3 days later, he himself visited the prison and spoke to the prisoner. It's something unheard of. But so, this is the power of a Chief Justice. If he wants to move a system, he can move mountains. You just need one person like that who will listen to you. So, after that episode, I felt, and in Bihar, it was so nice. I mean, there were these stories. Initially, they used to bet on me, prisoners, prison staff के कितना घंटा टिक पाएगा, आधा घंटे में निकल आएगा, ये बिहार के जेल है. So they would talk like that about me. And I had my driver, he would come and tell me these stories कि मैडम हमने तो आज bet लगा लिया. वो सब बोल रहे थे कि आप 5 मिनट में आधा घंटा में निकल आएंगे. तो हमने बोला नहीं, रह जाएगा, रात भर भी रह सकता है. She will not come out. And the prisoners were very cooperative.
So from these, your entry into this sector, I mean, just this working with human beings in who are in cages, who are incarcerated in prisons, long gone and forgotten. It's just, even families forget them. 11 years, just when I was hearing this, 11 years, there was no one who came to visit this person. So I don't need to ask this question, but I will still ask. If there were a scale, which is like a exclusion scale, alienation scale, isolation scale, and the group that you work with, people in prisons, if you were to give them on a scale of 1 to 10, how excluded and alienated is this population?
See, if you speak of marginalized community, say Dalit community in India, is terribly marginalized. So a Dalit in prison is marginalized. It's like this double exclusion from the society and double alienation. They are far beyond the margins. So if you're a woman and you're a prisoner, so this is like double the discrimination that you face.
Okay.
So it's like that. So if you're, say, transgender, you have a problem and people look at you in a different way. It's transgender prisoner. So you understand the prison system. It's very important to understand. We can change all these nomenclatures. Prisons are called correctional institutions. Right. But the architecture of prison is of a prey and predator. The prisoner is the prey. And the predator is the system. The architecture is the predator of a thing. The prisoner is always under observation.
This is on paper, but is this the spirit of the law?
No, it's not the spirit of the law. The law has changed.
Okay.
It's no more called jail or prison. It is now called correctional institution.
Right.
The law means that you are being incarcerated for reformation, not retribution.
Right.
But the prison architecture, the architecture is of that, the relationship between the prison and the prisoner is that of a prey and a predator, where the prisoner is the prey. Right? So these are people, and most of the people inside prison are people who haven't perpetrated an offense or didn't have a proper trial, didn't have a lawyer. There are lots of follies in the criminal justice system. And it's not in our country, it's there everywhere. One of the worst criminal justice systems in the world is, say, the American criminal justice system, the prison industrial complex. So we are actually operating in that. And now with a opinion, see, revenge is always glorified in our society, right? There are pictures made on revenge, stories of revenge. Right?
Films.
violence is glorified, right? So in this kind of a mindset, people will say, we need speedy justice, we need more encounters. Why waste time keeping, with the judicial system, right? But the law operates in a different way. When you check the procedural law, when you go by the procedures, you see that it's so disadvantaged because criminal justice system is this checkered maze, and you need to have all your privileges to walk through this maze. If you don't have a privilege, if you come from a marginalized community,
then you're even further down in the alienation.
So,
yeah.
And it doesn't end over there. No? So you go to prison, say, I went to prison for 10 days. I'm just saying, I was incarcerated for 10 days. When I come back home, whether I'm acquitted, whether I'm convicted, what happened in the court doesn't matter. Everybody will say, oh, you've been in prison, you're a criminal. So you just end, you can be by default, a criminal tag will be there on you all the time.
So how do you, like you said, you go to prison and then there is this label for whatever, whether you're acquitted, convicted, just had a trial, it was all of that. How do you define this? How do you see this exclusion, the marginalization, the alienation, this entire perspective of the prey and the predator? How does it lead to this? How does it lead to exclusion? What kind of exclusion and alienation does it lead to? And what is the toll on the person then? What is the impact of this kind of alienation on the...
See, the thing is, when you're talking about prisoner, the person is completely socially excluded.
Right.
There is also a silent victim over here. It's not only the prisoner who is socially excluded.
Okay.
There is the prisoner family also. They have not perpetrated any crime at all. Not even closely related to. They were not even associated with the incident, right? So there is a complete social backlash on the prisoner families. And if you see the prisoner demography of a country, you'll see people who come from marginalized background because there is a systemic bias which is endemic in the criminal justice system. So you come from an upper caste, probably you will not go to prison. I mean, say I'm calling it a criminal justice system because it's a system. It's the criminal justice system. It's not individual or institution. One institution. It's got everything with it. So from the moment of arrest, the institutional bias, which is embedded in the system, starts working.
Plays out. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're from a marginalized community, probably the police will misbehave with you. Probably they'll arrest you more. Say tonight, I just feel like sitting at the footpath of Southern Avenue. I can sit, maybe the police will come and say, it's too late. Onek raat hoye, apni bari ja. Let's say if I was a Dalit woman who is a street dweller, if they catch me sitting at a odd place in the middle of the thing, just arrest me. No? My opinion will not matter at that point. So the privileges say, I think I can explain this with my privileges. Say, I've come from a background where I had a very good education, I speak in a certain language, certain diction, I have a certain circle of friends. So these are all my privileges.
Yes.
And I'm very aware of it. I'm not saying that, I don't have any privilege. But I'm saying that when you see the criminal justice system in action, then all these works out. See, we in a country where you have serious caste problem, in the prison it is at its worst.
Yeah, so you're saying the prison system actually amplifies this entire alienation, discrimination, the oppression. It just gets even more amplified there. And what does PAAR, what does your organization, what does PAAR do to fight this kind of exclusion and, what you said, a double discrimination or
So the thing is, see, we face a lot of problems when we start talking about open prisons. The first question is like, are you trying to justify crime? Are you trying to supporting a criminal? So these are questions that we keep coming across. So what we have done is a lot of whataboutery happens, right? So what we do is we have come back with these questions ourselves. Like we want to understand the prison or prison runs. So we ask about these things like, have you ever met a prisoner in your life? Somebody says, Smita, you want to take a prisoner open jail thappe, who won't stay in prison, but he's a criminal, right? Are you supporting a criminal? So then I'll have to say that, have you ever met a prisoner? Because the person has never interacted with the prisoner, right? So the idea is there are these notions that the person is coming. This comes from like academics, journalists, people who are very enlightened people also. When it comes to prisoners, there is a stigma that was.
Absolutely.
So at that point, so PAAR's journey has been fantastic. So from Bihar prison work, the Patna High Court published my report.
Right.
So the court took action on the work that happened in Bihar. The Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance of that report.
Okay.
So the National Human Rights Commission took cognizance of that report. The Law Commission of India took cognizance of that report. So laws were framed, legal aid clinics were set up inside prison based on that one report.
So this happened which year?
This happened in 2015. 2015, 2006. 2016, the Supreme Court order came out on Bihar-like jail inspections, and that was by Justice Madan Lokur.
So there are legal aid clinics now in many prisons in India?
It was not there previously, and it was decided, so there was this concept of access to justice was initiated.
Okay.
Where, see, if I'm in prison, I need access to justice, right?
Absolutely.
This is a constitutional right of a citizen, right? But if I'm in prison, so legal aid clinic means that the District Legal Services Authority, the State Legal Services, the legal services come to meet you in prison.
Yeah.
So you get access to justice from there. Legal aid clinic means lawyers will come, judicial officers visit.
So this is something that PAAR actually worked on and got it done, and it's now a Supreme Court directive.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
It was still the Law Commission came up with the NALSA passed orders, resolution, everything. The Bihar report was really an eye-opener.
So it takes care of one kind of exclusion, at least the access part for the prisoner. There is an access to legal aid and justice mechanisms to understand what he or she is going through, what are the next steps, and all of that becomes, I think it becomes clearer to the prisoner. Okay, so this is how it's going to happen, this is how my case is going to unfold, these are the places where I can appeal. Is this what happens in the legal aid clinic?
Yeah, and legal services mean it's a service delivery system. No, we're providing legal services, whatever you need by the law.
Yeah.
So now the legal aid clinics are there inside prison. So there will be a lawyer. Now there the lawyer is not functioning properly. A lawyer's work is very serious. So there is another problem. So this is now, even the judiciary and the legal aid clinics are being initiated by the court. By National Legal Services Authority, which is a statutory body of the Supreme Court.
Right.
These are things which are initiated by the court. And in the Legal Services Authorities Act, prisoner is only one part of the services that they are supposed to. So Section G of the Legal Services Authorities Act, there it's a mandate to provide free legal aid, free and compulsory legal aid. So that's this terminology of free and compulsory comes in. But doesn't mean that a lawyer might not be effective.
Quality is not something.
There's a quality of lawyering you can't challenge. Then again, somebody has to monitor where is the quality of lawyering. So it doesn't happen overnight. But I'm saying that the fact that this has happened in this country, and we are the only country which has this.
Really?
Right. So that way the judiciary has been very, very progressive and supportive of prison reforms.
My God, I had absolutely no information about this. Is fabulous. And this is something that PAAR had worked on in...
Not PAAR, I mean, from the Bihar report, the Law Commission took it up. So there's a provision of Legal Services Authorities Act, but it was not implemented. In 58 prisons of Bihar, there were no legal aid clinics. If the clinic was there, it was not operational. So when that happened, so then people started thinking of the system moved. And this was, now it's like a big thing. Right now there are lots and lots of legal clinics.
So how
And
do you...
now we are discussing that we are in the next stage, whether the lawyering is
Ah.
happening. So these are right now a different
Yeah. So
discussion. From
you
where
moved
it
on from
started.
accessibility. Now
Yes.
you're looking at quality monitoring.
Yes.
How lovely. So
this
this is how you're looking at systemic accountability to people
Yes.
living in prisons. Asha, while this work was happening, while you were working with...
No, so the Bihar prison inspection report, which got this entire national attention.
Yeah.
So at that point, so then the Supreme Court passed an order like Bihar prison inspections needs to be done across India by all the high courts. And I was in the court. I was invited by the Parliament, Department of Law and Justice. The standing committee had invited me to play the role of an advisor on this legal aid clinic and things like that. So at that point, I got a email from the Rajasthan High Court saying that come to Rajasthan. So I had invited from multiple states because it's a Supreme Court order, they have to maintain it. And at that time, I was unemployed. I didn't have any money. So going to Rajasthan, I had invited from Goa also. So at that point, after spending 2 years in Bihar, the first option was let's go to Goa. But I didn't have the money for it. So Jaipur is so close to Delhi. So I took a bus and next day I was in Jaipur. And I thought that I'll be in Jaipur for the weekend. I'll go and I'll come back. But then I spent 7 years in Rajasthan.
The weekend turned into 7 years of work there.
Yeah, because in 2 hours, and the very day I reached Rajasthan, I had to go and visit Sanganer Open Prison. And I was so startled at first to see the open prison because it looked like a village. So this is very interesting. So when I went to Rajasthan, Justice K.S. Javeri was there. He was the acting Chief Justice of Rajasthan and he said, thank you for coming. अभी आपको काम करना है और आप अभी से लग जाओ because I don't have time and we have to do it very fast. Rajasthan is a very big state. So I was saying, sir, Rajasthan has 135 prisons. It will take me years to finish this. Then he says, तो अपना कोई route map बना लो, do something, go and meet the prison, DG prison and he'll work it out. So I went to meet the DG prison. So it was Mr. Ajit Singh. He was the DG prison at that point. And I was sitting over there and there were prison staff telling the DG that we have to अभी लाठी चार्ज करना पड़ेगा, prisoner eviction तो करना ही पड़ेगा. And first of all, lathi charge on prisoner was something I didn't, obviously I will not support. Then prisoner eviction, it just didn't work because you won't need to evict prisoners. No? If you tell somebody to leave prison, they'll happily leave. I met 30,070 prisoners in Bihar. Not a single person told me that I want to go up, I want to stay in prison. So prisoner eviction it's an oxymoron, it's unheard of, right? So then when the staff left, the Ajit sir said, "Okay, Smita, this is a problem. I think you should go and meet prisoners. Prisoners really like you. They listen to you also. You go and convince them and they have to leave the prison." And I was like, "So I'll happily go." पता नहीं ये क्या है.
Why were they evicting the prisoners?
So then I went to Sanganer. The superintendent took me to Sanganer that evening only. So say I landed in Rajasthan in the morning. And by 2 o'clock I met Ajit Singh. Then by 4 o'clock I was in Sanganer prison the same day. And I was sitting over there because I was coming as a High Court observer. The superintendent had created samosa, chai, nimu pani and all of that. And he was constantly nudging me to आप कुछ खा लो, आप कुछ खा लो. So after half an hour I said, sir, हम बहुत थके हुए हैं. आप मुझे जेल दिखा दो, मुझे prisoner से बात करना. So I have to go and report this to the High Court also. There's a protocol I have to maintain. Then he was like, आप तो जेल में ही है madam. And I was so startled because Sanganer doesn't even have prison walls. It's like a village. It's a community. And at that point in 2016, they didn't even write it on the gate, Sanganer Open Prison. There was nothing written over there also. So he has taken me over there, kept in the open field. Under a tree, he's kept a table and there's a lot of lemonade, chai and all that.
And where were the prisoners?
They were in their huts. So then he said, oh, prisoners to abhi nahi aaye hain, thoda der baad aayenge. So I was seeing in the evening, prisoners are slowly coming in for their attendance. And I was like, oh my God, this is... And I was so startled. And imagine I've been at that point from 2004 to 2016. I've studied prisons, I've studied international prison systems, all of that, and never knew something of this sort existed in my country. And then it was fascinating. So I met prisoners and they were saying, "Madam, 6 महीने और का दो बच्चे का board exams है." And somebody
So they wanted to stay on.
yes, फिर somebody से अभी भी नौकरी लगा है, कहाँ जाएंगे, अभी ऐसे ही नहीं निकाल सकते हैं. So their sentence was over. So the prison department wanted them to leave. But they are saying just extend it by a few months. So you can't, the prison department can't do that. Why will somebody extend your sentence? That means illegal detention. So it will come to the prison department that you're keeping the prisoner as illegal detention happening. And these guys, they don't want to leave. So prison mein to वे लाठी चार्ज करेंगे ना. So that's what they were saying. And then I had to like speak to them, and then I went back and I told Justice Javeri sir, वो क्लोज जेल का नहीं, हम ओपन जेल का स्टडी करना चाहते हैं. एंड उससे ओपन जेल वो क्या है? ऐसे सर है, जैसे वो भाग नहीं जाते हैं प्रिजनर्स. ऐसे सर वही तो है, ये लोग भागना नहीं चाहते हैं, ये लोग जेल में और रहना चाहते हैं.
This you were telling to the
Justice Javeri.
But he was in Rajasthan.
Yeah, but he doesn't know about it.
Oh, okay.
Then I told him about this, and he is the chief justice, so he came from we posted from Gujarat. So
This was something
that
very
was
new.
completely started, yeah. And that time Sangana 2016, Sangana started in 1963. So it has stood the test of time also. And it's like so I told Justice Jai, he was like, ठीक है, तो first you जल्दी तुम open prison का study कर लो. I'll not give you much time. Within 4-5 months you have to complete it, and then the real commitment is you have to go visit the closed prison. And that time I was not even interested in visiting closed prison because it's the same thing. It'll be overcrowding, there'll be drinking water crisis. There are these problems which are there, which is there. It's like it's there in every prison.
Right.
So I was thinking, this is so fascinating. And then I went and told Ajit Singh that, sir, I want to study the open prison system. Can you please create a route map? Because Justice Javeri said I'll not have more than 3-4 months to do this study. And he was like, Rajasthan is a big state and you've come over here, it's month of April. You will not be able to work. So I said, but I have to do this. It's so fascinating. And he's like, पता नहीं what is so fascinating. यहाँ पे तो है open jail. बहुत सालों से है. Why are you so fascinated about it? Why can't you inspect the closed prisons and धीरे फिर when the मौसम improves, then you go? Because he was thinking that in the closed prison, they can provide me water, electrolyte.
Your cup
Well,
was.
they can look up. Because I'm like a high court commissioner. Justice Javeri appointed me as a high court commissioner to study open prisons. And he's thinking that if I go and faint, I have no idea what Rajasthan summer is. Open prison is like a village. There is, in a lot of open prisons, there is no electricity, nothing. And there is no manpower also because prison guards are also not there. So for him, it was a security setup. And he was trying to discourage me, don't do this. And I was like, what is so special about this, sir? You don't know what you have. Something fantastic. This is going to be a game changer. So just let me do this. And after Ajit Singh was like, you're very stubborn, theek hai, I'm allowing you, but we will not take any responsibility. Something goes wrong with you that summer. So it didn't matter to me. I was so excited and so much of energy I had at that point because it was like I finally had a solution to the prison problems.
So that was a turning point.
Yes, it is. And it is a game changer when it comes to the criminal justice system also. So everybody was so fascinated when I did the study. Then since I was the High Court Commissioner, I could check crime department's files, prisoner files. So when the High Court opens up for you, appointing you as an official person, then you can ask for cross-check prisoner files, you can go for police reports. All the institutions of the state facilitate it. So in Rajasthan, I saw that these prisoners, they never re-offend. They don't escape from prison. The rate of escape from a closed prison is much higher but open prison, nobody goes. I have even come across a case study where this prisoner was staying in the open prison. While in the closed prison, during his sentence, he escaped twice. But he came to the open prison, after that he doesn't escape. So I had asked him also, भाग क्यों नहीं रहा है? यहाँ पे दो बार तो भाग चुके हो आप. And he's telling me, but यहाँ पे तो I'm settled here, my family is staying over here. Why will I give this up? So then I realized that open prison is just really this very deep concept of liberty, where liberty is an incentive. You can't evaluate it.
So beautifully put.
So if you're talking about liberty, you're talking about dignity, you're talking about equality, this is a system which this is actually what the Constitution has been talking about.
The spirit of the correctional, the reforming centers.
And this is why a criminal justice system, I mean, this is the entire, the spirit of the law is this. And I was thinking this, and then, so when I went back, so fine. So then Rajasthan report came up, and within 20 days, the Supreme Court passed an order that open prisons has to be set up across the country. And I was thinking that, so in 2016 and 2017, so 2016 I had a Supreme Court order with my name on it. 2017 I again had a Supreme Court order with my name on it that her recommendations needs to be implemented. And I was thinking, this is fascinating. And then initial days I used to face these challenges. Everybody would tell me, you're not a lawyer, you're not a police officer, you're not a judge. What do you know of the criminal justice system? All these very progressive, liberal views. They have an open prison. Then I would always say, sir, this is not my concept. I did not invent it. I'm just saying it has been there in this country. Go and have a look at it and let's implement this. So it's not me. If it makes you feel any better that this is not this young woman who's coming and saying, non-legal expert coming and saying, let's have these some lofty ideas. Like we have studied Bertrand Russell, we have studied John Stuart Mill, Western philosophy of, the concept of justice. And it was discussed in Presidency College, say library and lectures about, say, Michael Foucault, about the institutions, prison. These are principles discussed in very elite academic circles. True. And I was seeing it's happening in rural Rajasthan. They've never even heard of, say, John Stuart Mill. They don't even know what is Constitution of India. And like crude villagers who are not even lettered, and they were law-abiding citizens.
How does the exclusion or alienation stigma thing play out there? I mean, so you're saying it's an open prison, so people are coming in there, working and going out. These people are going out and working. So what happens to this thing about stigma that you were talking about earlier?
So that doesn't work in an open prison.
Okay.
It doesn't work over there. So, and they don't even call it a prison. They call it a Khula Bandi Shivir. They call it a camp.
Camp. Okay.
And then this is so beautiful. So when I asked around people in the locality, I had to submit a report to the High Court. So first of all, I went through all the crime files and things like that, and I saw that these guys. Then I checked the Rajasthan police data on escape from prison. So there were like a lot of FIRs on escape.
Right.
Farari. So they will say Farar ho gaya. So then I went through the details of the Farari cases. It's like somebody didn't come to prison for 2 hours, was delayed. So then, because if you don't enter the Bandi Panchayat will immediately inform the local police that this guy hasn't returned.
Okay.
So now we had that system also in place. There will be a phone number the prisoner can call and say, I might be late for 2 hours. So you are not allowed to be late every day. So these things then got fixed. Because people don't.
So actually the Ferrari thing actually doesn't happen. People don't really run.
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't happen like that. Or somebody has gone out on parole. Parole means temporary release from prison. Yeah. So they have like a 30-day parole, 40-day parole. So I've gone on parole, then fell sick.
And so
can't return. So they didn't have a mechanism in place where the prisoner can inform the prison department. So then there is a Ferrari thing, then police then the prisoners are so, and then they're so like, they'll say that so innocently on your face, हम तो बीमार थे, फिर तो पुलिस आके हमको वापस लेके आया. So I was saying, you have a case on you now. They said, हम तो जेल में ही हैं उसके बाद, हम तो कभी भागे ही नहीं हैं, तो वो तो dancing, but it's there against you in the court. So they got the legal services authority to then clear all these cases.
Oh. And they didn't even know that this is another offense that has been charged against.
They said कि अभी जाने के टाइम पे पैसा मिला, थोड़ा पैसा हम जमाए थे तो हम घर चले गए. आने के टाइम पैसा नहीं था, हमको तो पता है 1-2 दिन में पुलिस आके लेके आएंगे.
Oh my God! This sounds really very not so prison-like. obviously there are, these stereotypes, prejudices, biases. People have, I have a picture of how a prison should be. And obviously you're breaking all of that. Just tell me something. It's sounding so...
feels so good.
Sounding really... How expensive is it? More expensive than the...
No, it's cost effective because prisoners pay for their own food, they pay for their own quarters, their own maintenance. That's all. They run the prison themselves.
Do you have any data about it? How?
We did that. So in a state, that the Rajasthan prison report itself has that. So in a state, any state in India spends around 7 to 10,000 rupees per month per prisoner.
Okay.
And there'll be very few households in the country, normal households, where people can spend that kind of money on an individual family member.
Exactly.
But the state spends that kind of money. And the outcome is inhuman living conditions. Right? In an open prison, they pay what, 500 rupees per month.
Per person only 500 rupees.
Yeah.
So from 10,000 you've come down.
So Sanganer and Jaipur. So I did a comparative study budget. That was the first chapter of the report. That was where Justice Javeri was he said कि इसका budget तुम निकाल के दिखाओ, because if I tell the government about budget, they will immediately lap it up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fantastic. So I wrote the entire report without discussing budget. Because I am a human rights person, right? I'll be talking about the law, liberty, justice, equality, everything is coming in place. My first chapter was the principle of justice, the idea of justice, and Justice Liberty, and Justice Javeri was like, "ये liberty क्यों बात कर रहा है? What is the budget which is required?" And I never thought as a,
the economics of all of this.
So I went back to the jail department. I went back to, so jail department के पास ही था. Jaipur Central Jail's annual budget, Sanganer Open Prison annual budget. So it was like 14 times different.
14 times?
Yeah, so Jaipur Central Jail annual budget is around 18 crores. So and Sanganer was about 2 lakhs. And I went and said this to Justice Javeri. He was like, yeah, this should be your first chapter. And we are taking it, and he was like, we publish it right now and all that. So we did all the...
Why is this not available to...
People don't... See, I realized this also. So now PAAR is around 6 years. So this journey...
Okay.
So from 2017 till now it's 2025. So many years I've been working on open prison. Now I've realized, so I don't get agitated when people say, oh, what is this? Why are you talking about this? So I realize that people are against open prison not because they are against it by principle. They are against because they don't know about it. So you have to generate that awareness. That's it. Once people find out, there is no reason why they'll not do it. That is why open prison has become such a successful model. So there are 25 high courts in this country.
Okay.
20 high courts have a writ, suo motu writ, initiated by the Chief Justice Bench, which was a part of a Supreme Court order. The same Justice Locus Inhuman Conditions order. So there is a writ pending order. Every high court has taken up open prison.
Oh. 20 out of the 25 now want to have open prisons in their states.
In the states.
Fabulous.
And so I still meet DG prisons who are hearing about open prison for the first time, but there is a judicial order saying... So now we've also, what we've done is, we take all these visitors to Sanganer and meet them and greet them. Come and so we have these prisoners who are like auto drivers. So Sanganer, the fantastic part of Sanganer was I asked the people staying in the locality, what about this? Because at Sanganer, there are 450 prisoners who stay with their family over there. Okay. In the last so many years, there's a school, primary school set up inside Sanganer. I had to face this problem when I went to the Department of Education and said, primary school, there was like, jail ke andar primary school, what are you talking about, So I always said, then again to the court always, so since I was appointed as the commissioner, right, so the judicial orders were there, the set up a primary school inside Sanganer. So what happens is the social reintegration happens over there. The school was set up for prisoner children.
Right.
Now there are like 10 prisoner children, primary school there. But 40 children from the locality came and joined the school. The teachers didn't want to come and teach in that school. So we did training of teachers.
Okay.
That school hai, पढ़ाना है आपको पोस्टिंग है वहाँ पे. So and then they were like, नहीं madam, ये. Now we've done interviews after that. After 6 months they were radically changed, and they have these parent-teacher meetings where prisoner is sitting with another family, say local grocery shop owner. They are discussing school को क्या करेंगे, and they said हम लोग school में पढ़ाते हैं. So primary school teachers, right? They said the kind of love and respect we get from the prisoners over here, we don't get it anywhere else, and they are always eager to help. So because Sanganer also, it's a trust-based system. If you are incarcerated,
Yeah.
nobody trusts you. You're a prisoner,
So
you're a
when the
criminal.
system trusts you like this, you
So
the-
you
the
trust a
giving back
prisoner and the person always.
transform.
There's a transformative system that happens. This trust is reciprocated by trust.
So fair.
And it is a continuous process. I mean, it's an interactive process. So the system, so now these are again lofty things, trust and liberty, dignity. But I'm saying that it establishes, it checks all the boxes.
Can you say a bit more on the locals?
So the local population is there. So when I went and asked them that ये लोग prisoners है, they said ना हमको पता है. So I said, but they work over here. So the fascinating part is there's a murder convict staying inside prison. He works as a security guard in the local apartment. Right? And they want him only to be there. Because this guy is there, उसने कुछ अच्छा किया होगा इसलिए जेल से उसको निकाला है. He has to earn that. No, that liberty is hard earned. It's not like you go to prison, then you cover your case and everything is there. So if you are a repeat offender, you can't go to an open prison. If you are convicted of a violent sexual abuse, crime, you're not going to an open prison. If you're there as, say, a big-time smuggler and all, you're not going to an open prison. So there are restrictions.
Right.
Now, this is where the difficult discussion comes in, because most of these prisoners who are staying in an open prison are murder convicts. That means they have a long sentence. The stake is much higher. Say, if I steal a motorcycle or say cycle chori case, bicycle, I'll have 3 saal ka jail. So I'll send me to open jail, I'll run away from there. My stake is not that high. But I have a life sentence. Police is going to hunt me down for the rest of my life if I run away. So that first of all, I'll be spending, life means life, right? Till your last breath. So when you hear the sentence of a life sentence, the prisoner sees that this, I'm going to spend my entire life in a cage.
And this is an option.
And this is an option. So I earn it. I earn my conduct, I earn remission, I earn it, I earn liberty. Every day I work, I earn liberty. And in jail, jail also has some, I find it very fascinating, this concept of remission. So if you're working in a prison, you have to work for say 8 hours a day. Then you earn after the month. So see, you've spent a 30-day month, it will be counted as 32 days of incarceration. So 2 days of liberty you have earned. So if your sentence is say 10 years, say 7 years, then you'll earn say remission of 2 years, 1 year, you earn that. So in Rajasthan, the prison rule says that after completion of 1/3 of your sentence, along with remission, so that becomes 6 years, 8 months. So 5 years of incarceration, remission of 18 months. And that remission you're earning every day.
Yeah.
It's a regular thing. Every day you have a good conduct, every day you work, you earn that liberty. So then you go to an open prison. It's something very hard earned. Now if I come back to the case, if I come back to the offense, murder is a crime against society. There's a loss of life which is irreparable. You can't bring it back. It's an absolute sort of an offense.
Right.
And this person who has been convicted of murder, this conviction could have happened for several reasons. He might not be even perpetrating the murder. He was just the person who it was blamed. He or she was the person. But then there's a question of lawyering. The person didn't have a lawyer. Then there's a question of evidence. And the person, it's a criminal matter goes on in the court for years.
Years. Yeah.
Years. You can't afford that. So a lot of people who get convicted, it's because of bad lawyering or no lawyering at all. Then there is other kind of offenses which is like revenge killings, where the person perpetrates a murder and goes to the police station and says, I killed somebody. So that is like, there's this glorification of social, the revenge. Somebody killed or sexually violated somebody's family member, so you go and take revenge, and you say that. But it has been historically studied, there is a reference and data on it, that a person perpetrating revenge killing will do it. It's not a habitual, it's not like you're not a part of organized crime, you're not a career criminal, there is no criminal conspiracy
So
involved.
it's a one-time offense.
It's a one-time offense. Then there are, murder can also be an accidental offense.
Yeah.
Say I get into a fight, a drunken brawl, I push somebody, my intent was to push you or to punch you, to hurt you, but then somebody fell down from the stairs and died.
Yeah.
So criminal law operates on this principle of criminal law. It's called mens rea. Mens rea means there has to be intent and knowledge of the offense. So we intended to push the person.
And did intend to kill the person, and the person dies.
He had no knowledge that he'll die. So I'm saying, but again, mens rea and all these are things that happen in the court when you have a good lawyer who's going to take the time out and argue with you. And the courts are so overburdened. Most of the cases, the lawyers don't even represent the prisoner. If you go and ask the prisoner what is the name of your lawyer, he'll not be able to tell you. People don't go for court production. I'm in prison, I'm an under trial prisoner. My trial is happening in the court. There are no police guards
to take you for the...
They're not so say Jaipur Central Jail, we did this, less than 42% of people are represented, are go for court production. We did a 6-month study with the Rajasthan police. Police are unable to provide that guard. So in a day, say there are 200 people who are supposed to go to
the court,
the district court for hearing, but they have only 5 vehicles. Most of the people get left out. So missing your court production, your trial means you will get a hearing again after 6 months.
So what
there are so many things that work.
These pending cases are much more than the real, the very, very violent offenders.
Yes. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the conviction, you can't see it from a black and white lens. There are a lot of these grey areas. So then when it comes to women prisoners, the worst thing is, women prisoners, they get abandoned by their families. Most of the women inmates, the women, they are not people, obviously they are not part of organized crime. They are not career criminals. And I keep on repeating organized crime and career criminals because Rajasthan is a bordering state. There is an opium business. There is organized crime in Rajasthan. The international rackets operate over there. But the percentage of those guys in prison is so less. In prison, you'll meet, say, a woman prisoner who's been convicted for the murder of the husband. Now, a prisoner who has been a woman who has faced extreme domestic violence, and in one mad moment of rage or moment of weakness, under self-defense,
just hit them.
Something has happened. But you understand the social stigma. You're a woman, you've killed your husband, your family will not take you back, your in-laws will not take you back, your lawyer will not come to see you. And I am an unlettered woman inside prison. I am to stay under gungat, humko to pata bhi nahi hai. So I have met prisoners literally begging them that take a legal aid lawyer. And she'll say, can a guardian decide kare? So the guardian is not meeting you also. Have abandoned you. You've come to prison 6 months, 6 months ho gaya, koi milne nahi aaya. Will not take her because she is not used to making a decision, right? So this also I had to get the court was very, very progressive about this. That women prisoners, until unless you come and like say I go and say I am representing her, you anyway have a legal aid lawyer. So the decision is not yours only. Then if you have a lawyer, then the legal aid lawyer will back out. That's it. Women prisoners, something so painful about them is that most of them have children, right? So if they are in custody, the children don't come to meet them because the child can't come alone. The in-laws will not bring the child to the mother because the mother is the perpetrator. And I'm just saying that it's so painful. There is no mechanism only to get the child to come and visit the prisoner. Because you're seeing Jaipur Central Jail, or say even our Presidency Central Jail. The jurisdiction of Presidency goes 200 kilometers dure. Who has the bandwidth to bring the child? And then you bring the child, you meet for mulakati is like where there's a visitors meeting room. The visitors meeting room is like there'll be small cages, and people will stand in a line, and the families come from say 100, 200 kilometers. They don't have the money. They come over there, and you're expected to meet your lawyer and discuss your complexities of the case in that mulakati, and you. So the families come. So there is, it's like a railway platform. It's like a railway compartment, overcrowded. So every prisoner is shouting. The family is also shouting. Nobody can hear nobody. They can just see, like, visit each other, and just see. So after some time, the family also doesn't come because they've lost an earning member. Women prisoners, nobody anyway comes.
And the children definitely can't come in this kind of a environment, can't even meet. And
so this is a puzzle that
so then that's why you're saying that the open prison system then for so many people, and this becomes a
so sorry for interrupting. I just had a thought.
Yeah.
So there's this prisoner called Manisha. She is convicted for murder. So when she came to an open prison, when she came to Sanganer, she stays with her mother-in-law and her daughter. Because after the son died, the mother-in-law had nobody to look after her. Manisha, when she came out of prison, she took the mother-in-law in. Understand this? And this is fascinating if you see that.
so so this the open prison system and how it really builds inclusion by design, it's by intent. Is this at all is this prevalent in any other part of the world?
See, there are Norwegian open prisons, which we have studied. It's like every law school has to study Norwegian open prison system. But they've never dealt with, prisoners never stayed with their family members in the open prison. Prisoners, they were dealing with, say, 20 prisoners, 21 prisoners. You see the Norwegian countries, Scandinavian countries, you're thinking about think of the population.
Yeah. So,
But here in India, we're dealing with this problem at scale.
right.
And this is a fantastic system, which is, people are not aware of it.
Very true.
So I couldn't believe it myself initially when I came across it, because in my mind, I was trained to understand the Norwegian open prison system. So when I was in Bihar, when I visited the Buxar open jail, there's an open jail in Buxar, Bihar.
Okay.
There the prisoners didn't want to stay in the open jail. Why? Because at the end of the sentence, the prisoner is of a life sentence. The prisoner is being sent to an open jail for social reintegration. So I have been in prison for 20 years. Now I'm 85 years old. My family has completely abandoned me. Now suddenly you're telling an 85-year-old that you go and stay in an open prison for social reintegration. So they don't want to go and stay over there. I met a prisoner who was in this Buxar open jail. So Buxar open jail is very close to the Buxar central jail. So this guy used to go in the morning, sit in front of the central jail. The central jail people used to feed him, would eat over there, then come back and sleep in the open prison. He came as a request saying that मुझे भेज दो वापस. I can't take this. I'm too old to do this.
So what are you recommending then?
I'm
the
saying
design
that the
needs to be
Rajasthan open prison, you're sending a person at a much earlier stage.
yeah.
Where there is a scope of social reintegration. Now say if you have a disabled person, a physically infirm person, not disabled, physically infirm, at the age of 80, 85, an elderly gentleman, suddenly you can't send the person to an open prison, right? And say you earn your living, social integration. You can't do that. So there has to be, you have to logically think about it. So Rajasthan actually ticks all the boxes, and the Supreme Court, the apex court has ordered several times to implement the Rajasthan open prison model. The high courts have also taken up this. So they are also ordering the same thing. This is a model. It stood the test of time. There is no harm in implementing it now.
So, one on a lighter note, if you had to pick one song which could denote the inclusivity or your movement towards inclusivity through the open prison systems, what would that song be?
So there is this poem of Tagore where the mind is without fear. So I have the privilege of knowing the person who put tune to it. So there's this song of Mr. Shushmat Bose, who is the social change musician. So he sings this song, where the mind is without fear. It always resonates with me, and it always resonates with the open prison work. Because, there is this, we did this concert in Rajasthan, inside the prison. And Mama was singing this, that where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. And every time he went, the chorus which came into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. And we were doing that event saying this is the prison of the future, we're talking about equality, liberty. Something happened at that moment. It was so magical. And I think that's my favorite song.
Thank you, Smita. That was very, very informative. So I really hope that this entire reformative movement that has been initiated for more inclusion, more human connection, and in the true sense, actually, transformation, a chance for change, is something that you're advocating through the open prison systems. And we understood today what does this mean, who can access this, why is this kind of social integration and inclusion, how does it break alienation, and how this is absolutely inclusion by design in a policy and program. So thank you very much for being a part of this podcast. It was really, really interesting.
Thanks for inviting me. At this point, we are the only people discussing open prison. And nobody has time to think about prison.
Well, this podcast will probably change that. Let's hope that.
Yeah, let's hope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for joining Inclusion by Design. Remember that social inclusion is not a lofty ideal. It is a human-centered, human-driven, purposefully intended action by design. See you in the next episode, and we hope this conversation sparked something for you. Inclusion in action. Until the next conversation.